Hey everybody, my name is Sparks Miller. If you know me from the journaling community, the music community, or my new family, which is the Brain Aneurysm Survivor Support Group, and if you're my close friend or close family, you know me as Barbie. So we have been challenged for the first day of September, which is Brain Aneurysm Awareness Month, to tell our story. And I think that is super, super important to raise awareness. So I'm going to tell my story as quick as I can. It's kind of long. It started a very long time ago. So please try to put yourself in my shoes. Get yourself a cup of coffee, a glass of water, whatever you need to do, but I'm going to try to shorten it as much as I can. Okay, so when I was 14, I was sitting in class, in one of my classes, and my teacher's name was Mr. Reedy, and all of a sudden, and I was in 8th grade, all of a sudden, the world just kind of went, like, it moved and came back, and I was like, that's not normal. And then I didn't feel very well, so I went to the nurse's office. I had somebody walk me there because I had never experienced anything like that, and the nurse was like, here's some orange juice, have a cookie, go back to class. And the rest of the day I really just couldn't go back to class, so I had them call my mom. My mom took me home. And this happened repeatedly for a long time. But my mom had taken me to the doctor. And my doctor was like, okay, yeah, your blood pressure's a little high, your blood sugar's a little low. I think you have a virus. And somewhere in my head I was like, how can this be a virus? This has been going on, like, off and on for so long. And then a couple weeks later, it got way worse. I went to get out of bed and the entire room was spinning on fast forward. I couldn't sit my head up. And I'm like, Mom, I can't go to school. And my mom was like, you just don't want to go to school, which, don't judge my mom because she has been nothing but supportive through this whole thing. I'm just telling the parts of the story that are going to matter later so that you know that you're not by yourself. That's the only reason I bring this part up, and to keep fighting for yourself. But that's later. So don't judge my mom. She was just being a mom of a teenager who hated school. So anyway, she's like, you just don't want to go to school. And I was like, no, I really can't, Mom. I'm so dizzy. And she's like, whatever. And she let me stay home from school. Well, this went on, off and on. Like, it would go away and then it would come back. Just repeatedly. Back to the doctor. She's like, I think you still have this virus. And if it doesn't go away, come back. Okay. And again, I'm just like, how is this a virus? Like, this is not going away. And of course it didn't. And this kept on, and it was just like, you don't want to go to school. It just went on, and I went to high school, and same thing, all through high school, which was kind of fair because I really didn't want to go to school, but that's not what was going on. And so off and on all through high school, it happened again and again and again and again. I was missing so much school. It would happen in the middle of the day. It would happen in the morning when I would wake up, which was more prevalent than not, but it would just hit me out of nowhere. I felt like I had no warning. And I gave up going to the doctor because I felt like they're not doing anything. They're just not doing anything. So I think eventually I ended up going back to the doctor. And she was like, you know, you do have a heart murmur, which runs in my family. It's nothing new, and it's really nothing that's serious, you know, if you go to your heart doctor. So they hooked me up with my heart doctor, and my heart doctor gave me a Holter monitor, and he was like, yeah, you have mitral valve prolapse. And I was like, okay. So for years I thought that's what it was. I was like, I have mitral valve prolapse. I blamed it on that, but there were days I felt so bad. I'm like, how is it just that? And like, all these tests are coming back fine, because they sent me for a stress test and everything. And I mean, a 14-year-old taking a stress test, you can imagine, right? So I started having chest pains, and they were like, just take her to the hospital, you know, she's fine, whatever, it's anxiety. And my mom was just like, I'm done with this. So I stopped going to the heart doctor for like a while. Fast forward, I graduated high school by the skin of my teeth. In my desperation, I went to a half-a-day class and was like, yeah, I have a job. And then I like quit the job because I was like, I keep missing work because I don't feel good, and you know, forget this life. And I just was like, okay. So I got busted, you know, and because I was like, I'd rather just go to my friend's house, and if I'm sick, I can stay home. And I got busted. I ended up in school suspension. If it wasn't for the two teachers, Mrs. Daly and Mrs. Hyatt, I would have never graduated high school, ever. And it was mainly due to missing so much school because I didn't feel good, and, you know, why do you want to go to school when you're just constantly in trouble? So I graduated, and I was really proud of that. My family was really proud of that. That made me so happy. I finally accomplished something, because when you get told repeatedly all through school that you just don't want to go, that you just don't want to apply yourself, and you know that that's not what it is, it affects you, you know? You're just like, yeah, okay, why bother? Why try? You know, apparently I'm a loser, it's fine. So then I got a job, because why bother going to college? Which I regret. And I was missing work. So starts a whole new bunch of years missing work off and on, and nobody understands why. You're just like, I can't explain it to you. Like, I just have these horrible dizzy spells. They're so bad I can't get out of bed. You don't get it. I don't feel well. You know, and every time I go to the doctor, they would be like, your blood pressure's so high. Your blood pressure's so high. Why is your blood pressure so high? This went on and on for a very long time. A very long time. Fast forward some more. I start this job that I had for a long time that you wouldn't think that I would like, but in the end I found out that I made a lot of friends there, and that it was worth, and my husband, and it was worth all of the misery. And it was awful. Like, I would still have these spells. So anyway, I missed a lot of work, and I was just like, I don't understand. And my mom would be like, won't you get in trouble for missing so much work? And I'm like, I don't know. I hope not. Fast forward again. And keep in mind, I'm just pushing through all this by, like, the seat of my pants, just trying to figure out how to make it through days, just trying to figure out how to survive. I think that as a human being, you know, you learn to survive things, and you learn that, like, okay, this is my norm, how do I get through the day? And it was just like that for a long time, just trying to make it through life. And nobody knowing what's wrong with you, and everybody going like, why are you always sick? You're always sick. She's always sick. Whatever, she's a hypochondriac. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a loser, I'm hypochondriac, thank you so very much. Appreciate your faith in me. Like, I mean, it hurt my feelings. It hurt my feelings a lot. And I acted like I didn't know people were saying these things, but I knew. And to this day, I know, you know. And it doesn't hurt any less now that I know. And I got married to a wonderful guy who understood. He saw me go through things. He knew my normal and my not normal, you know. He hung out with me. He saw me every single day through everything. He knew when I was pushing myself. He knew when I wasn't. He knew when I was fine. You know, he knows all these things to this day about me. And he for sure saw everything. And he saw the days I just barely made it. And my dizzy spells got so much worse through the years. So much worse. And I was crawling to the bathroom. I would be calling work and they'd be like, can you come in later? We have to find somebody to cover your shift. You're going to have to find somebody to cover your shift. You're in trouble. You're going to get rode up, blah, blah, blah. You know, and this has been going on for so many years that since I was 14. And when this happened, when I finally found out what was wrong, I was 36. That's how many years I fought through this. And there were days I didn't want to fight anymore. I will not lie to you. There were days I just wanted to give up. And I didn't give up because I just knew there was something else. There had to be something else. So finally I got sick and tired of it and I told my husband, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I absolutely cannot do this. I am so done. I'm so over people saying like, yeah, well, you were fine yesterday. You did this yesterday. Did you get drunk at this concert last night that you went to? Was it too much for you? Did you party too hard? That hurt my feelings because I didn't. You know, I felt like I couldn't live my life without judgment. And that hurt a lot. So I went to the doctor and I fully explained everything. And I'm like, listen, something is really dead wrong. I need your help. Please. Please help me. And I'm going to try to get through this without crying, but it's really, really emotional for me. Especially after so many years of everything I just told you. So I begged them for help. So they sent me to my heart doctor, and he said, and I went back to the same guy I went to before because he was amazing. He looked up my stress test from when I was 14. I was crying in his office, and I was like, something's really wrong. I'm really sick. And, sorry. And, he looked up my stress test from when I was 14. And he said, whoa, what did they tell you about your stress test when you're 14? Do you remember? And I said, they said it was fine. And he said, no, it was not fine. Your heart rate was way over 200 beats a minute. There's no way, at 14 years old, that this should be a thing. And he said you have something called inappropriate sinus tachycardia on top of your mitral valve prolapse. And he put me on Nadolol, which has kept me pretty even for a while, which I'm really grateful for. I cried, and I was like, you're the only doctor to ever listen to me. You're the only person who actually has listened to what I say. And I just thank you so much. And I went home and I cried. I cried the whole way home. Just like I'm crying right now. And I'm like, they finally found out what was wrong with me. Well, then I had another dizzy spell and I was like, why? There's no way. So I called my heart doctor. And I went back. He set me up with an appointment immediately. this doctor and his friend, that's another doctor that I'm going to tell you about, saved my life. Dr. Brown, the cardiologist in Ohio, saved my life. He was the only doctor to listen to me and not think I was a hypochondriac and take me absolutely serious. So I'm so grateful for him. And I've told him that repeatedly. And he said, something's wrong. I'm gonna set you up with a neurologist friend of mine, Dr. Wadwa. And I said, okay. Dr. Wadwa said, they've never given you an MRI. And I said, no, I've never had an MRI. And he's like, I can't believe they've never given you an MRI for this. Ever. In your whole life. And I'm like, no, I haven't. And he made me do this walking test and stuff, you know. And he sent me to the hospital to do an MRI that week. And we went. And they called immediately after my test. I was kind of drugged up on, I can't remember what they gave me. It was to calm my nerves on the MRI machine. I was really tired for a couple hours. So I was kind of out of it. And they said, you need to go back and you need to have another scan, which I forget the name of it. So put it down below in the comments if you know. I know what it is. A CT scan. It's another one of those things you brain aneurysm survivors will understand. So, a CT scan. I had the CT scan, and a guy that used to work with me worked at the hospital, you know, and he ended up being a nurse, which, good for him. And it was great to know somebody that worked there and calm my nerves through this whole thing. And there I am getting a CT scan, had a needle in my hand, and all of this stuff, and which was really quick. They were really great. I really appreciated their demeanor and their bedside manner and everything. They were wonderful. Nothing but props for our atrium for that. So I had the CT scan, and the guy was like, oh, you know, was talking to me about my husband because he knew my husband. He worked with them, and he said, do you know what's wrong with you? And I said, no, they didn't tell me. And he said, you have my chart, which is what we have here. I don't know if that's a nationwide thing, but that's where they kind of explain things. And I said, no. And he said, you might want to look. And I knew when he said that he was serious. I knew that he was absolutely dead serious, and that something was very wrong, which confirmed everything I knew for a really long time, that something was dead wrong. And so I get in the car and I said, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. My husband's like, what do you think it is? And I'm like, I don't know. So we go to McDonald's across the street and we're eating, and because I hadn't ate yet because I'd have the test done. And we finally get me logged in to my chart and stuff, and we look and it says, you know, you have this thing on your brain. I didn't really know what it meant. I never heard of it before. And in my head, I was like, I mean, in my, you know, thoughts, I was like, I have a tumor. And I'm like, oh my God, I have a brain tumor. How am I going to tell my mom? So I got home and he's like, I think you should call her. And I'm like, yeah. So I call her. And I'm like, Mom, something's really, really wrong. I have something wrong with my brain. And she's like, what is it? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I have like a tumor in my brain or something. And I could tell she was upset. She just tried to keep a brave face for me. And she's like, well, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure it all out. You're going to be all right, you know. And she was doing the whole strong mom thing, which I appreciate, because I really needed it. And we call my husband's mom, and, you know, we tell everybody that was necessary at the time. you know, there's something really, really, really wrong. So then I go back to my neurologist, and he says you have a very large aneurysm, one of the biggest I've ever seen, in your head. And I'm like, what's an aneurysm? And it's where, he explained to me, it's where, you know, what is it called? Shoot. Anyway, your blood vessel in your head, it blows like a balloon and fills with blood. And if that balloon explodes, at least this is how I remember it, if it explodes, 50% of people make it to the hospital and 50 die. So you have a 50-50 chance of survival at this point. Not something anybody ever wants to hear in their life. Ever. But again, I knew something was really, really, really wrong. And I was just like, here we are. This is what I'm faced with, and okay. So, there you have it, 1.5 centimeters in the back, see, right hand side of my head. It looked like the head of a Dum Dum Pop, is how I can explain it to you, inside my head. So, 1.5 centimeters. Usually he said they're between like 3 and 7, something like that, millimeters. So, this was bad. Bad. He said, we have to get this operated on immediately. Me, of all people, who gets teased about what an airhead they are, has to have brain surgery. So there's proof for you that I have a brain. So, my doctor's seen it. It's there. So, my drummer's right. I say so a lot. Anyway, I'm like, what about my job? I was so concerned about my job, which now, looking back, I'm like, why? Why bother? They didn't care. So I explained it to him, and they put me on leave. And so they put me on leave. And I'm gone for, about a month and a half, trying to figure out, going to doctor's appointments like every other day, I swear. There were so many doctor's appointments leading up to this, pre-op, just, oh my gosh, so much stuff between my heart problem and that. It was every other day. Luckily, my husband's job is, they're saints. So if any of you see this from his job, I love you so much. Thank you for understanding. Oh my God, thank you so much. Anyway, we went through all of the things that you have to go through, and I was a nervous wreck. An absolute disaster for a while. I mean, my mom was coming over, just sitting with me, walking the trail next to the house, going, you have to fight this. You have to fight this. Whatever this thing is, whatever you go through, you have to promise me that you're going to fight as hard as you can. I'll never forget that. And I said, I know, Mom, I'm going to. It's going to be okay. And in my head, I'm like, I don't really know if I'm going to live, because this has been going on for so long. How am I going to do this to my family? So, we go through all the stuff, and, my aunt calls me, and I love her so much, and she's like, I survived a rare cancer that 5% of people get. Your grandma survived breast cancer. You can do this. And I'm like, I know. I come from a really long line of, so strong women. It's ridiculous. we are some of the strongest women I have ever seen in my life. I mean, and my cousin's been through so much stuff, and, you know, just like my mom's been through stuff. I mean, and health-wise or not, we are some strong women. So that said, moving along, I knew that I really just thought I was going to be okay, because I'm like, I'm strong, I'm going to be fine. So the day before surgery comes, you know, you don't get a lot of sleep the day before surgery, especially this surgery. They give you the surgical soap. You have to do this, you have to do that for prep. Oh my God, it was nuts. So and this is during a pandemic, mind you. During a pandemic, this is all going on with me, and I'm just like, of course it is. Of course it is. When else in my eventful life would this happen? So, we go, and it's like 5, 6 in the morning, and I'm like, just do it in the morning and get it over with while I'm still sleepy. It'll be easy to knock me out and keep me asleep. I'll get some good sleep, right? Let's do this thing. So I'm trying to have a really good attitude about it, and I pack a bag, which, grateful I packed a bag. There's some advice for you. Pack a bag for the hospital, no matter what you have done. Pack yourself, your journal, your books, your pens, bottles of water, especially. I absolutely advise that. I don't know what they'll tell you, but I'm telling you that. Because those nurses are busy. They don't have time to wait on you every 5 seconds in your needs. So, anyway, I have the surgery, and I signed the waiver, and I tell my family, I'll see you on the other side of this thing, and I really didn't know if I would or not. I had my funeral attire laid out in my bedroom in there for my husband. 36 years old, and I have to make possible funeral plans and tell him, if I don't make it, this is the outfit I want you to put me in. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, we have to talk about it. This is so hard to talk about. This is way harder than I thought it would be, so I'm really sorry for crying. So I have the surgery. And I go in and I have a Reds mask on that I wore for my great-grandpa because he loved the Reds. I love my family a lot. And they said, I like your mask. And I said, it's for my great-grandpa. He loved the Reds. And they're like, and I said, please get me through this. My husband needs me. And my mom. And the guy said, that's why I'm here. That's why we're here. And I said, okay. And he said, is there anything else? And I said, no. And then this guy named Christian, I think he was an anesthesiologist. He had this really wild, really cool Beatles surgical cap on, which I focused on a lot. It really got me through some stuff. He was a really cool guy. So, Miami Valley Hospital, he's a really cool guy, and he helps anybody through surgery, so props to him. So they put me to sleep. And something happened between then and when I woke up, which I haven't really told anybody, and it was an experience I will never forget. Next thing you know, they're shaking me, and I have this really crazy oxygen mask on my face that's blowing really hard oxygen at me, and they're like, wake up, wake up, wake up, you know, come on, wake up. And I'm like, am I alive? And I heard them say, you know, what my heart rate dropped to, and that my blood pressure got down really low, and, you know, I think that was a really scary moment for the team that worked on me, and part of that experience kind of stuck in my soul, I think, man. Like, it was bizarre. And anyway, I mean, I don't know if they know that I heard all that, but I did. And anyway, I feel them put the, what do they call it, the calendulas, whatever, the oxygen things in your nose. And I see my mom, and I was like, am I alive? And she's like, yeah. And then I see my husband, and I look back at my mom. And I was like, I did it. I'm here, I made it. But part of me didn't want to make it. I don't know, I can't explain that part of it to you. It was really weird, like I didn't want to come back. Like it just all of a sudden was in my head that I didn't want to come back. So I made it, the surgery. I did really, really well that day, but I was really doped up on, I don't remember, do something. It's a really amazing drug that makes you feel absolutely normal. At least it made me feel normal. I felt really good, and I had to stay the night. They let me stay in a suite right next to the helicopter pad. So that was cool when I couldn't sleep all night in the hospital, because who couldn't sleep in a hospital? I for sure couldn't. Even though I was doped sky high, I really could not sleep. So I watched that all night while my husband snored across the room. There's a video on YouTube. I watched Selena. I watched Bohemian Rhapsody. I drove the nurse nuts, having to go to the bathroom every 5 seconds, but that is the next part of the story. I couldn't walk. I told the nurse I need to go to the bathroom, and I fully expected to be able to walk, and I couldn't walk. I almost fell, and she was like, whoa, no. So she had to set me on the bed and, you know, bring the little potty thing next to the bed. They wanted to give me one of those hospital bed things, you know, like the bedpan things, that I was like, straight up, no. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna drive you crazy, and I will just either pee in one of these water bottles, or you're gonna have to bring this toilet over here and somebody's gonna have to help me every 5 seconds, because no way. And so there's that. And they told me the surgeon wanted to meet me the next morning. My husband had left to go take a shower because he was like, I feel gross. And he's like, I'll be back, because my mom had come. And so it was great. I constantly had somebody with me. I didn't feel alone. And then the doctor met me and met my mom and told her, you know, all the things, and said I'd be fine. I'd be able to drive in 2 weeks. Get real. That was not a thing, okay? Not a thing at all. So I had 2 home nurses and a physical therapist come to my house, because, you know, you can't really leave your house, and you need a lot of care after that. It was scary. I was so scared. So scared. And they helped me a lot. They were there to listen to anything I had to say. My physical therapist worked with me. We got, my husband got me a walker off of Amazon, which I'm keeping in the closet in case, you know, we get to be 90 someday and we need it. He wanted to sell the thing. He was like, let's sell the thing, because I hated it. And I'm like, no, listen, we might need one someday when we're old, so keep the thing. I think he just wants to get rid of any reminder of this horrible time in our lives. But After about a month, I could walk on my own. My mom worked with me. She came here every day to this house and sat with me. She helped do laundry. She helped do the dishes. She fixed me soup every day. The nurse was like, you have to eat more. I really didn't want any more. I wanted soup and mashed potatoes and coffee. I still want coffee. Like, every day I just want to live on coffee. And, which is like a no-no, but nobody's taking my coffee. Ever. And matter of fact, right before they wheeled me into surgery, they said, is there anything you want when you wake up? Which is a really good incentive, by the way, for you to wake up. And I said, coffee. Because they won't let you have anything before surgery. And he was like, okay, sure thing. And the first thing I said was, I want coffee. Is there coffee? Did somebody bring me coffee? That was one of the first things I asked for. And I was angry. I was very angry. I was moody, by the way. That anesthesia will make a person hateful. But, sorry, Mom. Sorry, Jess. But they really deal. And, anyway, that's all I really wanted. But my mom worked with me every day. We went, of all places, to the cemetery, which is not a place you really want to go when you're recovering from something that could have killed you, that almost killed you. But luckily it did not, they said in surgery, it did not pop, you know. It didn't rupture. Somehow, by the grace of God, they said it didn't rupture. There had to be some higher power, because most people with something that big in their head, that big aneurysm like that, it's rare to see one not rupture. So, God blessed me there. And, so I learned to walk again, and, could go to the bathroom on my own, and eventually I could shower on my own. Do you know how embarrassing it is to have somebody have to shower you because you can't shower yourself? Humiliating. All I wanted was to shower. The after effects have been hell on earth. Hell on earth. That 2 weeks you'll be back to your normal self thing, where is that? It's not realistic by any means. And being in the support group has really helped my husband, and I understand that that's really not a common thing. So if there's any doctors watching this, just know that that's no. I had a lot of anxiety afterwards. I mean, it was beyond. I would wake up in the middle of the night and have to feel like I would have to see if I was alive. In the middle of the night, just wake up randomly and be like, am I alive? I didn't sleep very much. I would eat popsicles, put ice packs on my neck, and put feet in hot water. And I was doing this multiple times a night, multiple times during the day. I couldn't have the TV on past a certain volume. A lot of times he would put his gamer headphones on and plug it in and listen to it, and I would just try to watch it. I couldn't have really, really bright lights on, but the lights weren't really too much of a problem. It was mainly sound, which is horrifying for a musician, because you start to think, like, why am I alive? I can't even listen to music. Why? I have no purpose now. That sucks. That's hurtful. And then you lose because you're gone from music and you're gone from your life for so long, you lose your your confidence. It goes away. Some of my hearing is different, which is horrible for me. But I'm learning to cope with it and learning to adjust to this new way I have to do. I have in-ear monitors now, which are extremely helpful. I had a nurse, my home nurse said it was, after surgery, certain form of PTSD. My short-term memory at first was like nothing. Zilch. Nada. No short-term memory. I couldn't remember if I had a popsicle 5 minutes ago. I mean, it was that bad. Did I eat lunch today? Did I eat? Hey, did I eat? Like, that was me. Did I, what did I say earlier? Do you remember what I said? Like, I mean, it was like having dementia or something. Like, I mean, I don't really know what that's like, but it was a very strange feeling. And I still do have problems with my memory from time to time. It's way better. I remember stuff my husband doesn't again, which is great. You know, it makes me feel good. Sorry, but it does. I know he'll understand when I say that. I couldn't drive my car for a very long time. It's been over a year and I'm finally driving on my own, short distances. Very short distances, which is kind of what I did before. I have never been able to drive the highway. My anxiety's always been bad, but I had a really bad experience when I was like, I need you to get me out of the house. And my husband was like, okay. And he took me on a drive. And a train came. And we didn't really think about trains and the noise. And I tried to jump out of the car by what I remember, I think. And I was like screaming, holding my ears, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to jump out of the car or grab my knees and scream. And it was horrible. He basically had to hold my hand and be like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's alright, you're okay, hey. You know, and he's like, what's going on, what's going on? And I'm just like, get me out of here, please. And I was like, please, please, please. And I'm like, take me home. I was so freaking out, scared. I was having a complete meltdown, and we had to call my nurse. And she came, like, the next day and was like, you have a form of, like, PTSD or something like that, like ICU PTSD. It was something like that. And she's like, I'm gonna write this down in the notes. And you know, my doctor never did call about it or anything. They didn't really give me anything for it. But over time, it's gone away for the most part. I mean, loud noises do make me jump every now and again, and I do have a problem still with anxiety. I don't think it's ever gonna subside. I have depression every now and again. It kicks my butt. But I've learned to talk about it, and I know it probably gets on my husband's nerves, and he doesn't get it. It's hard for him to hear the things that I say, but he'll talk me through it, and without him, I don't know if I'd really be here. And without my mom, I would call her and be like, I want to die, I want to die, I want to die. And finally, that started to, like, ease, and I was way better. I had horrible head pain for months and months and months, to the point where I didn't think I was going to wake up. I mean, severe pain I've never felt. I had needles with numbing stuff put into my skull, between my skull and the skin. It was for nerve damage. So I had it here, like in the back where it was, and also like right back in here. So I had a lot of shots. It was like a series of shots, a couple times. So they put needles into my head while I was blatantly awake. And it's funny how after the first time you just go like, yep, they're shoving a needle in my head. Yeah, it's normal. So weird. So weird. So you learn to really, like, if I've gone through this is a breeze. You know, you really have to be a positive person to get through it, and you have to remain positive. You have to fight every day of your life. You have to really want something. My 1 year was August 11th, and 2 days later I played a gig with my band finally, and my God, I didn't cry, but I really wanted to, and I wanted to kick their butts because they gave me roses on stage and kind of told a little bit of what happened. And a girl came up to me and told me her story, and I never get sick of hearing other people's stories. I like to help other people.